$1.3 trillion in 3 months, Maya. The risk-on switch is permanently jammed.
Jammed by private equity guys sweating through their fleece vests. They've got $2 trillion in dry powder and angry LPs. That's desperation, Nate, not strategy.
Oh, come on. Desperation doesn't buy you whiz for $32 billion. Google knows exactly what it's doing.
Google is just buying AI insurance, but Unilever dumping its entire food division to McCormick for $44 billion. Now that's a structural mess we need to untangle. The rundown.
$2 trillion. That's how much dry powder private equity is sitting on right now. You can practically smell the desperation from LPs demanding their money back.
And the creative financing gymnastics they're using to bridge these valuation gaps? Absolutely wild. But it's definitely sparking a fire. Look at Sysco.
$29.1 billion for Jetro Restaurant Depot. Sysco is just buying the entire wholesale empire at this point. If you eat at a restaurant anywhere in North America, Sysco probably sold them the napkins.
I read the filings on that one. The premium they paid is aggressive. Analysts are calling this a return to a risk-on mindset, but I don't buy it. It's not risk-on. It's just panic deploying capital before interest rates do something weird again.
Oh, come on, it's absolutely risk-on. The regulatory environment is finally predictable. You don't drop nearly $30 billion on a wholesale supplier if you're panicking. You do it because you want a monopoly on bulk ketchup.
Agree to disagree. Panic makes people buy weird things. Speaking of buying sprees, Merck is keeping the Q1 biopharma streak alive. $6.74 billion for Terns Pharmaceuticals.
Another day, another pharma bolt-on. But the real stealth play is Brookfield Wealth Solutions. They just closed the Just Group deal, $3.2 billion.
Which gets them 700,000 new customers and £30 billion in pension savings. The UK market is getting completely raided right now.
It really is. Even Legrand is getting in on it. They bought TS in the UK and Kedak in China, doubling down on data centers.
Because if you don't say AI infrastructure 3 times in your press release, does the deal even exist?
Exactly. Tech giants are absolutely scrambling to buy up specialized networking hardware before valuations get even more absurd.
Well, speaking of absurd valuations, we need to talk about the main event. Q1 officially closed out with a record-breaking $1.3 trillion in global transactions.
A massive quarter. And 2 megadeals are doing the heavy lifting. Google finally bagging Wiz for $32 billion, and Unilever essentially selling the entire kitchen sink.
$44.8 billion for mayonnaise and bouillon cubes. We've got the footnotes on both deals, right after this. The big one. $1.3 trillion. That is the global transaction total for Q1.
Record-breaking.
It is completely absurd. We are 3 months into 2026, and companies are spending like they just found their parents' credit card.
The risk-on mindset is officially back. Interest rates finally stopped giving everyone whiplash, the regulators are being a bit more predictable, and the checkbooks are wide open.
Wide open is an understatement. Look at the top of the pile. Unilever offloading its entire food business to McCormick for $44.8 billion. I read the filings on this. They literally sold the kitchen sink. Mayonnaise, mustard, all of it.
McCormick just bought every summer barbecue in America. It is a brilliant play. They secure the supply chain and dominate the grocery aisle in one move.
It is a massive play. Brilliant is a strong word when you are paying that kind of premium for slow growth condiments. They are not the only ones either. Sysco scooped up Jetro Restaurant Depot for $29.1 billion.
Consolidating the wholesale empire? I love it. But you want to talk about premiums? Let us talk about the real crown jewel of Q1. Google finally finalizing the Wiz acquisition. $32 billion.
Crown jewel. Nate, it is highway robbery. $32 billion for a cloud security startup. I do not care how good their dashboard is.
You are looking at this like a journalist again, Maya? Look at it like a strategist?
I am looking at the math. The revenue multiple is offensive. Even Merck paying $6.7 billion for Terns Pharmaceuticals makes more financial sense, and biopharma premiums are notoriously insane.
It is not about the multiple. It is an AI infrastructure arms race. Google cannot afford to lose the enterprise cloud security narrative to Microsoft or Amazon right now. $32 billion is just the toll to stay on the highway.
You are sounding exactly like a managing director trying to justify a terrible fairness opinion.
I feel attacked, but I'm also right. You know who else is right? The limited partners who are currently holding private equity firms hostage.
Oh, the dry powder panic. $2 trillion sitting there.
$2 trillion. And the LPs are screaming for their returns. I talked to a guy on Tuesday who sounded like he was going to cry into his Patagonia vest. The pressure to exit is wild right now.
I would play the world's smallest violin for him, but a PE firm probably bought the manufacturer and stripped its assets.
Ouch. Fair, but ouch. It is forcing some crazy financing gymnastics to bridge these stubborn valuation gaps.
Because everyone wants AI multiples, but nobody wants to pay them. Except Google. Oh, and Legrand. Did you catch them quietly doubling down on data center specialists?
KEDAC in China and TS in the UK? Yes, the AI infrastructure scramble is very real.
I am actually fascinated by that UK angle right now. Brookfield Wealth Solutions just dropped $3.2 billion on Just Group over there too.
The UK market is a total magnet for aggressive takeover bids right now, despite all the macro chaos, which is exactly where we need to point our radar next. Voices. I was reading this morning that analysts are officially calling this a return to a, quote, risk-on mindset. Stabilizing rates, predictable regulators. They are looking at this $1.3 trillion quarter and taking a victory lap.
Predictable regulators. Who exactly are they talking to?
Well, predictable does not mean friendly, but the big number the insiders are pointing to is that $2 trillion in private equity dry powder.
See, I hate the way they frame that. $2 trillion in dry powder makes it sound like a strategic war chest. If you read the LP letters, it is a ticking time bomb.
Spoken like a true journalist looking for the blood in the water.
It is just data, Nate. Look at what is actually happening. Limited partners are screaming for capital returns. PE firms are sweating. That frantic wave of exits we are seeing, that is not risk on confidence. That is panic. They are doing absolute gymnastics to bridge these stubborn valuation gaps, just to show some liquidity.
Okay, fair. I will admit, as a former banker, whenever I hear the phrase creative financing, I immediately check my wallet.
Exactly. It usually means someone is hiding the bad news in the footnotes.
But you cannot deny the AI narrative. Tech commentators are entirely right that AI infrastructure is the engine right now. Just look at Legrand scooping up KEDAC in China and TES in the UK. It is a total land grab for data center specialists.
I buy the AI infrastructure thesis, but the global risk-on narrative is totally ignoring the dramatic chill in South Korea. Buyout values plummeted there in Q1. Geopolitical anxieties are absolutely still real.
Sure, but the money has to go somewhere. If Asia is cooling, that capital flies west, which perfectly explains why the UK market is suddenly ground zero for aggressive takeover bids.
Right, and if you want to know who is circling those UK assets right now, you need to see the cross-border filings we just pulled. Spill the tea.
I'm telling you, the group chats are in full panic mode this week.
Over the $2 trillion in dry powder, we've known about that overhang for months.
Not the dry powder, the limited partners. The LPs are absolutely screaming for cash returns. You've got these private equity partners sweating right through their fleece vests because they can't exit anything without taking a massive haircut.
So instead of taking the markdown, they're doing financial gymnastics. I saw that analyst note going around about firms aggressively pursuing quote-unquote creative financing to bridge stubborn valuation gaps.
It's actually a smart play. You throw in some structured equity, maybe a complex earnout, a little seller paper. Suddenly the buyer and seller can finally shake hands. You bridge the gap.
Oh, come on. Creative financing is just a polite way of saying they're desperate. They bought at the absolute top of the market in 2021, and now they're just engineering the capital stack to hide the fact that the math is totally broken.
Hey, I used to pitch those exact structures. They save deals.
They save egos, Nate. You read the actual footnotes on some of these Q1 exits, and the hard cash changing hands on day one is shockingly low. It's all smoke and mirrors to avoid admitting a loss to their investors.
Okay, harsh, but fair. Still, at least they're actually closing deals. Look at South Korea right now. Buyout values over there just completely fell off a cliff in Q1. Total deep freeze.
Yeah, the macro and geopolitical anxiety is really biting them, but if you want to see where the actual heat is, you have to look at the UK market.
Oh, absolutely. The takeover bids that are getting ridiculously aggressive despite the global shifts.
And speaking of aggressive, wait until you see what the tech giants are doing to secure AI infrastructure. We need to look at who is buying up all the networking hardware right after this. Tomorrow's radar, big insights.
I'm telling you, Legrand scooping up KEDAC and TES is just the appetizer. Tomorrow, you need to watch the UK market. The tech giants are absolutely scrambling to lock down AI infrastructure.
You really think the UK is the primary target? Their power grid constraints are a nightmare. I'm looking at the private equity shop sweating over that $2 trillion in dry powder.
Oh, they are terrified. LPs are screaming for capital returns. But that's exactly why they'll overpay for UK tech assets. They have to deploy the cash.
Wait, you actually think they'll bridge these stubborn valuation gaps just to justify their management fees? That's incredibly cynical, even for a former banker.
Cynical? Maya, it's a business model.
It's a recipe for a massive write-down, but fine. Keep your eyes on the UK. I'll be digging into the footnotes on whatever financing gymnastics these buyout funds invent to make the math work.
We'll see who's right when the fresh SEC filings hit the tape tomorrow morning.